Okay, guys. Welcome to the second progression log of my antimatter chemistry playthrough. You guys have probably very likely already seen the thumbnail, so you guys already know what's going on. But bam, new base. Look at that. I know it's a bit early, but man, spring break has let me put a lot of progress into this world. So we're gonna come over here. 2.23 days. Woohoo! No, we've been making some big progress here. And so this is going to be a much longer video, as you can tell, because uh, I have a lot of stuff to tell you. So first off, I guess we'll go over the aesthetic changes, since that's, pretty freaking obvious. The reason why I switched to limestone was because when I was doing a lot of creative building in another world, just getting used to like figuring out what I wanted to do and lots of experimentation stuff. As I started to put a roof on, I realized the way I had designed it kind of reminded me of a sewer, and I couldn't like not stop thinking about that. And then I started to really hate it. So I tore out the roof, and then I switched to limestone. And yes, to those who have watched Threefold's Divine Journey 2 playthrough, it is a very similar palette. It's a good palette, so, forgive me, I guess. Some stuff that I do want to talk about is I've added a few more machines over here. Just some nuclear craft stuff. This is all, hand batch crafting stuff, so none of this stuff is automated over here. Again, just the thermal. Nothing particularly changes over here besides the power system. I, added a bunch more of these magmatic dynamos, and I actually switched them. This is something I've never done before with thermal. Is I added the boiler conversion and then added the steam the turbine conversion on these steam dynamos. And it produces a lot of power. Part of the problem is it consumes fuel 100 at 100% consumption rate all the time. Even if you have maximum power, it will still oh, the dynamos will always consume power. They'll consume the same amount of fuel no matter what. So there's that to think. But because I'm using lava over here, it's not a problem. So I don't particularly care if it's wasting lots of lava because the Nether exists. Um, I guess we'll start over here. Um, the mob farm is done. I built this. This is actually the first room that I built with this new palette, and I had gridded it out differently. You can see the glass is set up slightly differently here. It's not even finished. But I didn't really like this style, and you'll see how it changes a little bit later on in the other rooms. One thing I do want to note as well is this is a subnet. RedNet is a subnet. So the RedNet, all it does is effectively move items around and store stuff, so I can store the things here and do a little bit of item management without having to worry about accidentally dumping stuff into the main system or pulling stuff from the main system. So this is a one-way subnet. All items can only leave this network. They cannot be inserted into it from mainnet, light blue net. And all of these rooms you can see on the map are like that. This is lime net, or green net, or whatever you want to call it in this case. I guess it's green net. But this is just automated farm stuff. Obviously, it's still nowhere near complete. That's part of the problem with a lot of these newer rooms is I haven't really finished them out. But as you can see on the floor, I've changed the style a little bit from that one over there. We've got the strip that goes around the edges, and then each farm or area has a layer of glass and then a layer of limestone. I just like the way this looks. It's nice. We've got just a bunch of black hole tanks and sludge storage over here, and this is just all, again, subnets, the same thing as all subnet stuff. So this stuff can only push items to the mainnet. It can't accept items from the mainnet. One thing over here is this is just how I automate carbon and hydrogen. I'll go a little bit more into how I've done elemental storage, I guess, because this is actually... This base has the most complex Applied Energistics 2 architecture that I've ever done. Because I've never really done subnets before. And you've already seen two, and there's a third one over there. And, there's going to be lots of subnets. I really like them. I think it's cool. So, I'm going to do it. Also, there's not a single import or export bus in this base so far. It's all been done with interfaces and storage buses. Mostly because I'm trying to introduce good TPS efficient practices, good habits. Is really start really, hammering those good habits in. I don't really think it'll be necessary for like the pack of the scale, but I decided I wanted to get into the habit of anyway, because the more I play these more complex packs and the better I get at it, I feel myself being drawn towards some grad tech pack at some point. So, I kind of want to get used to, making better applied energistics decisions. Um, I've just been using XNet for a lot of this stuff because there's no Ender IO conduits. Lots of filtering, so there's lots of clicking, but it works. Part of the problem is these like alchemistry machines, especially the chemical dissolvers, are kind of fanky to get work with XNet. They kind of struggle with throughput issues unless you do some interesting things with them. I think you have to put them on like round robin and then distribution round robin, and then it seems to be okay. Then you just crank stack 5 ticks per operation, and it seems to work okay. But like out of the box, you need a little bit of cajoling on the XNet stuff. It's not too bad though. One thing is you can see there's glowstone now is sea lanterns were very, very annoying. They take hours to produce. Like a stack of sea lanterns took me originally like 2.5 hours to 3 hours to produce, and I wanted to do a lot more building, and sea lanterns were just not practical at the time. Once I get DML, they will be practical again because they're easier to produce that way. But that's a little bit off because I'm just introducing a lot of other infrastructure that I need. So glowstone is good for now. I might keep it. I don't know. I might replace it. We'll have to see. But for now, it's going to stay. Over here is the third passive room, and this does a lot of like stone work and dissolving stuff, I guess. First off, we have water here. This gets stored. This is also stored to the main system. And once again, this subnet can only import items to the main. It cannot take items from the main net, as will be the same throughout the base. One thing is I had an energy cell here. It seemed like the amount of items I was moving around drew too much power that a single quartz fiber could provide, I guess. But adding an energy cell seemed to fix it. So if your network is blinking in and out, like a subnet's blinking in and out while you're moving a lot of items, try adding an energy cell. And that seemed to fix it. Or it did fix it entirely. So, over here we make different types of polished stone for the rock crushers over here. These are nuclear craft rock crushers, which produce some kind of things we'll need a lot of later on, especially the crushed. You'll need this for conduit binder, the crushed rhodochrosite. Well, whatever. And you'll need this for conduit binder for nuclear craft stuff. So it's good to get that stuff on passive. Also, there's beryllium dust here now, so I could theoretically use this to make the barrel and stuff and go down that route for sea lanterns. But I don't really want to do that right now because DML is sort of right around the corner, and I don't really want to have to build a system that I would just tear down anyway that would be made completely obsolete by DML. Over here is just 4 chemical dissolvers that just eat up the various types of andesite, granite, diorite. It eats up the mineral salts from over there, and it also breaks down all the different molecules you get from that. Because I guess I'll go ahead and discuss the applied energistics architecture that I've decided I'm going to do. Is that the mainnet will only ever accept raw elements. So these, I will never push molecules for storage to the mainnet. Everything gets broken down into raw elements, which are stored and then reconstructed into things later. And yeah, that might be a little bit inefficient, especially for things that I might want. But you got to be inefficient to be efficient, right? That's what Threefold says. So it might be a little bit more inefficient in terms of like power usage and machine activities. But I think the storage way is going to make it a little bit, doing the storage that way will make it a little bit easier. And the other thing is some elements, like these subnets have storage built into them, as you can see. So, the subnet stores these items here, but they are available to the main net. We can do crushed, whoops. You can see we have the crushed rhodochrosite. And so one thing is, if I take out a stack of that crushed stuff, it'll remove it from this drawer, but it'll store it back in the drives. And I fixed that problem by making sure drives are on the lowest priority. Because how it works is if you take an item and you have all the priorities, you stack them in order, and you put on top and take from the bottom. That's how I imagine it. That's how I remember it, basically. You put on top and take from the bottom. So the computers are on the bottom, the drives are on the bottom, so it'll be taken from there first and delivered to there last. So one thing is I want to mention, I was going to talk about, is there's some passive storage here, but there's also items that are just dumped straight into the AE system. And then again, that is the raw elements. These raw elements are just given to the main net, and the main net stores them, rather than them being stored on the subnets. This is mostly because I wanted to centralize elemental storage. I want all the elements in one room, and we can actually go over and take a look at that now. There's a lot of running in this space. It's very long. I kind of like it though. Actually, like I like running around the space. It's fun. It's a really nice, pretty palette, and I'm glad I built it this way. This is definitely a far more complex base than the last one in terms of building style. Anyway, here we are. This is the passive storage for just a bunch of black hole units. These things are, I think, effectively infinite. They store 2.1 billion items, which is a lot. So it'll last long enough, and by the time if I ever fill it up, I'll be doing Avarita stuff, and I'll have massive sinks to just dump stuff into. So I don't think it'll be a problem. And even then, it's like, oh no, maybe it'll take me 2 weeks of playtime to fill it up. You can just throw another one on it; it'll be fine. Buys yourself some more time. But so just not all of these things are labeled because these labels are actually kind of expensive for what they are. It's a little bit annoying. I'm not gonna lie. It takes 6 plastic for 4. It's weird. But yeah, so we just store a bunch of elements. These right now it's only stuff that has been produced passively. Eventually, I will add more elements over time, and every element will very likely get its own black hole unit eventually. But that's, again, a much later thing. And again, you see this room has not yet been completed. There's still lots of room for expansion because I'm not sure how long I want to, make these things go out before capping them off, and because I might want more. This is going to be just a general, storage room for lots of stuff. So we're going to see a lot of black hole tanks in here and black hole units, and that's what this area is going to be used for. Over here we have the passive stuff. So I know how I said, how we don't break down there are no chemicals stored in mainnet, as in subnets won't pass molecules, I should say. They won't pass molecules to mainnet. Any molecules that are on mainnet are produced on mainnet, either through chemical combiners producing, this stuff, or through breaking down various objects, various items into the molecules that I want, like, rotten flesh for protein, sugarcane for sucrose, and wood for cellulose. Because those things are useful, you need these 2 things for slime balls, you need these 2 things for apples, which is my main food source right now. That's not been passive. But there are other uses for these things, and I left a lot of room for more stuff, because I figured, oh yeah, there'll be tons of stuff I'd like to break down. But then I realized a lot of the stuff I'd be breaking down would be for the elements themselves, and that would go on subnet. So if I want to break down a molecule for elements, that goes on a subnet somewhere. That is not done on mainnet. As you can see, we got plastic. You have passive plastic, skystone, silicon dioxide. I have a huge buffer of here. Again, it's being produced, so you can see like the inefficiency in effect here. But I'm okay with that. You got to be inefficient to be efficient, and this way, streamlining storage and architecture, I think, is the best way to go about it. So I'm willing to sacrifice extra power and machine speed or whatever to make the architecture a little bit more simplistic, I suppose, in a way. Some other stuff as I passive, I have scandium and indium ingots, which is so nice because those were like the biggest time sinks before, like, on making all those black hole units and stuff, was just needing massive amounts of machine frames, which require scandium ingots, and they're kind of annoying to get a hold of. You have to do them passively because you have to do them passively, unless you want to use on-demand fission or fusion from alchemistry to make the elements. But I just did it the stonework factory over there you guys saw earlier that we just saw produces these elements. We've also got Certus quartz on passive. This is just made with manganese and silicon dioxide, and slime balls on passive. I don't need too many, so I just have 2 stacks for now, and I figured that'll be enough. And if I need more, I can just open up the buffer a little bit. And we buffer a lot of this protein and sucrose stuff because the machines, the chemical dissolvers, have massive buffers. So, and I only, I buffer like, 256 in each of these things, just so the computer can read that it has a large buffer if it needs to do some on-demand crafting. I think that's probably about it for a lot of the other stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I guess this went a little bit quicker than I expected. Uh, I expected to spend a little bit more time on some stuff, I guess. But yeah, so this has been going exceedingly well, I think. I've been loving this base. I love building it. I've gotten better. Each room I build, I get a little bit better, and it changes a little bit. That one had a lot of, there's like you can see over here, the farm had a big central walkway, and this mostly ended up because the way I gridded it out, the way I, gridded out all these pads and stuff. And that'll change over time, so I'm sure we'll see a little bit of variation in how these rooms are set up and I guess delineated for various things. Like here, there's no real, main walkway. I guess this counts, sort of, in a similar vein, but, not really. I've been enjoying the way the wiring. I feel, yeah. Also the flux necks, by the way, fantastic. So glad I added them. Yeah, it's not part of the pack or whatever, and I'm sure, it's like, oh, balancing or whatever. I'm like, man, I'm here to have fun. And flux nets, I don't really want to route power cables everywhere. That being said, my cabling, my applied energistics cabling, really needs some work. It's not great. I've always been kind of bad at it. I think it doesn't help that it's all overhead stuff, which really helps for accessibility. It makes it very easy just to add more cables and very quickly, wire up machines. But, it also means it's a little bit, I guess, more chaotic in how it's constructed. You can see it before I started recording. I was spending some time doing a lot of this, facade work to help, neaten it up a little bit. I'm hoping once the facades are on, it won't be so messy looking, but I'm not really sure. But I'm actually, I'm okay with that. Again, I want to, complete the pack. So I know that if I, wire stuff underground, it'll be really annoying for me to quickly wire up machines. And this means I don't have to plan out cables as much. I can plan out where I'm gonna where I'm gonna put the machines, and the cabling can just be wherever it needs to go for that. And I'm actually okay with that. I'm actually not like you see a lot of bases do huge door wall style stuff. I'm actually not sure if I'm really a huge fan of that kind of style, personally. I mean, we're building a factory, right? It ought to look like one. And, I kind of like how all over the place this is. So, I'm generally pretty happy with how this base... actually pretty happy. I'm extremely happy with how this base turns out. There's more room for expansion over here for more mineral salts. This whole area over here, this whole stonework room needs just a little work. It's a little bit slow. A lot of the stuff over here is bottlenecked by I'm just not producing very much. But it's okay. It doesn't need to be like super fast or anything because it is a passive system. So part of the problem with how I'm doing mineral salts over here is they are getting eaten faster than they're produced, which means originally I was going to do a buffer here so I could have a large buffer for when you needed it for the singularities. But I've realized that this pack is going to have to be multiple stages. Like right now, I don't have the resources or like the infrastructure or the tools to really build the amount of infrastructure I would need to, sufficiently fuel producing as many singularities as you need. Because single mineral salt singularity is 20,000 per singularity, and you need a lot of these. I don't know what the exact number is because I haven't bothered to go out and count, but, multiple stacks of this, I'm sure. Because, you need how many of these ingots for a single helmet, and, a single one of these ingots requires a bunch of these, so we'll need a lot of these singularities. So, I can't build that level of infrastructure right now, so I've actually kind of accepted that later on, like late game, I'm going to be throwing down a bunch more infrastructure that's specifically built to produce resources on the scale required for singularities. This stuff is to produce resources for things that I need to build more machines. This is, machine work, not singularity work. So, I've realized, that's something I need to, keep in mind is don't go for singularities now. Don't really think about it now because I have so much playtime ahead of me, so much progression ahead of me that I'm going to unlock a lot of stuff, and creative flight eventually will happen, and other things that'll help me build things out a little bit quicker and easier. And I'll need more power as well. Like these steam turbines over here are actually pretty freaking good. Like I think in total it's like 2,400 RF, I think, at maximum. I don't quite remember. It's like 8 times 320, I think is what it was. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 times 300. So it's like in the 2400 range, a little bit more. Like 2460 or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it's like 25. 2560, something like that. Anyway, 2500 range, right? So that's a lot of power, but it won't last forever, and especially at the scale. And there's nuclear craft in this pack, so that'll be my power solution late game because nuclear craft is fun. um, so I still have this over here because I haven't set a bunch of stuff on passive yet. Eventually we'll slowly migrate away from this, but for now this will stay here. Again, because I only have a couple things on passive, and there's lots of things I need to make with this still. So over time, this will eventually go away, and this will probably be replaced with something else that I'll need. Whatever progression, maybe like DML will get moved here for a little bit, or something else. I mean, we could take a look at like all the different quests and stuff. Oh, there we go. I mean, DML might need to go here. Maybe there'll be some, nuclear craft stuff I'll do by hand. Maybe fusion crafting for, I don't know. Some stuff will go here. I'm sure something will get stuck there eventually. But I'm happy to have switched away from all the blue bricks. This base is much nicer, I think, with the blue. I like the brighter. I like how it's just, brighter, open air. And I've decided that I probably won't do a roof, which means that all these lanterns and stuff aren't needed for lighting, which means I don't have to spam them all over the frickin' place. Because if I have a roof, you'd have to do a lot of lighting, otherwise you'd get mob spawns and stuff. Because I'm pretty sure, even though it's day all the time, I'm pretty sure mobs can still spawn in the darkness, even though maybe they say it doesn't have any mobs. But then even if it was, like, I'd still have to light it up because it'd be dark and hard to see. So, I'm happy to keep the roof off, and I think that's going to stay for the rest of the base. Some stuff for the future is I think I want to do some height variation later on. Like, how over here we have, 4 corridors? I think these corridors I want to go up. I want to have, like, a layer above, and it won't cover any of the other bases. It'll just be, like, higher up. So just a little bit of, like, height variation. I think that'll be fun. We'll have to see if I ever actually get around to doing that. What I'd put up there, I don't really know. Again, because right now I'm just doing a lot of passive stuff. I need to do, applied energistics passive stuff. I might put on-demand stuff somewhere else. I might put it over here. Maybe when I build some stuff up there, I'll put it up there. I'm not exactly sure. There's still, a lot of building I have to do in this space. As you can see, there's still lots of facades. Virtually every room except the mob farm is unfinished because I'm unsure of how much expansion I'm going to want to do in those things. So, there's a lot of questions I have to answer. But one thing I do want to mention is that it took me actually quite a while to figure out how I wanted to do my applied energistics architecture, because that's like a decision, and once you start doing it, you have to like really stick to it. You got to stick to your guns for that, otherwise you're gonna have a really bad time trying to tear it all down. If it turns out you don't like it, then you have to tear it down, right? So it took me like an hour, 2 hours to like really figure out, and that really delayed me, I think, a lot. But you just have to like sit down and just make a decision. You just have to like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and it may not be most efficient late game. It may cause me some problems down the road, but you have to make a decision at some point, and I've decided, on the architecture that I'm doing. Many passive systems will be in subnets. The exception to that rule is back here in chemicals, because I am passing elements back to mainnet. And I don't really want to pass those on to a subnet and then do stuff in a subnet and then move it back to the mainnet. It seems like unnecessarily complex. And, part of the reason why I moved the elements to the mainnet was so I could do this stuff on mainnet. So, I still have a lot of stuff to do. I think that's probably it. That's probably all I have, I think, for today. This is a little bit longer. Not too much longer than some of the other ones you've seen, but definitely longer. I still have to move my portals. I have a bunch of stuff over here still, as you can see. I moved the sugarcane because I had the wet sand over there that I wanted. I have to move the nether portal, and I have to move the Atom portal. I'll get around to that eventually. It'd be nice, but I don't really go there very often, just for more limestone. Like, I actually haven't really done any quest progression, like, at all. I've just been focusing on just, building a Python logistics architecture and stuff and setups and things like that. And eventually I'll get around to progression, but, I'm not in any rush to complete the pack. And it's not like, blasting through progression right now is really going to help me. Like, yeah, blasting through progression would unlock me DML, but I'm not really sure if I have the infrastructure to really kind of support like that level, because first off, they require a lot of power. Simulation chambers eat lots of power based on the data module. Here we can do, and you can see some of these things are like not, expensive. Like it's 80 RF per tick is like a decent chunk, early game, but right now it's fine. But something like, 340, Enderman is 512, so a lot of these things, Blazes are 256. Like, I could pull this off, but the problem is, you know, the loot fabricators require power themselves. It's a whole thing. And there's like, if you want to make more, actually crafting these damn things. Oh, I actually can't even open up the recipe yet because I haven't even unlocked it. But, DML is a significant power sink and resource sink to get running. And I have other things that I need to do before I can actually, I think, effectively take care of that. I kind of want to do more applied logistics. None of my applied logistics stuff is passive, which is really annoying. So it makes, and especially since I'm crafting so much applied logistics stuff these days, because I'm expanding passive systems and stuff like that. So there's lots of things. There's lots of drains on my time that I've been running around back and forth and doing this and doing that and doing this and doing that. Yeah. I guess that's pretty. Yeah. Okay. Finally, I mean it for real. That's it. So I guess. Yeah. I guess I'll go ahead. I know this video is a day early. Normally I do these on Saturdays. The other one was a day late. But man, I've made so much progress recently that I decided I really wanted to share it a little bit earlier. Because I felt like it. I'm excited to show you guys how different the base is. Because like actually what's funny is, when I showed the first video, it was all blue. And then after I uploaded it, like that night, like that day, I swapped it over. So it's been like this, like legitimately, like since like, 4 or 5 hours since the last video released or whatever. So I kind of wanted to, show you guys what I've been doing, because it's been going pretty well. All right. That's it. Thanks for watching. I guess, yeah.